Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum to all my dear students. This is your lecture number 32 of week 10 from chapter Nervous Coordination. This topic will be followed from page number 87 to 90. So the contents are review of previous lesson, objectives, disorders of nervous system, diagnostic test for nervous disorders, recap and next topic. First of all, I will give you the review of the previous lesson, that is sensory receptors and their working, in which we have discussed olfactory receptors, taste receptors and sensory receptors in human skin, and the effects of drugs on nervous coordination, in which we have discussed narcotic drugs like heroin, cannabis, nicotine, alcohol, inhalants. Then we have discussed drug addiction and drug tolerance, and then we have discussed the effect of drug addiction and tolerance on the central nervous system. So students, after completing this lesson, you will be able to classify nervous disorders into vascular, infectious, structural, functional and degenerative disorders, and diagnostic test for nervous disorders. Disorders of nervous system. Basically, the neurological disorders may be classified as vascular, infectious, structural, functional and degenerative. So here we will discuss causes, symptoms and treatment of few diseases of these major categories. Vascular disorders of the central nervous system. What do you mean by vascular disorder? Any disorder of the nervous system which occur due to abnormality in blood circulation is called vascular disorder of the nervous system. So basically the vascular disease affect the veins and the arteries that carry blood around the body. So many different conditions can affect the vein and arteries that deliver blood to the brain and spinal cord. This include disease such as stroke, brain hemorrhage or vascular dementia. So here we will discuss stroke. Basically, a stroke is a vascular disease. It occurs when a blood vessels that carry oxygen and nutrients to the brain is either blocked by a clot or it may be burst or rupture. So here the question is, which artery are going to supply blood to the brain? So the answer is cerebral arteries are the arteries which are going to supply blood to the brain. So what happens when a person has a stroke? So when this happens, the brain doesn't receive enough oxygen or nutrients and brain cells start to die. Although many strokes are treatable, some can lead to disability or even death. So the main causes of stroke is hypertension, cigarette smoking, diabetes mellitus, high alcohol intake, thrombosis, blood disorders, blood embolism and cocaine abuse. Now the symptoms. Basically, sudden loss of function in one region of the brain is the main symptom of the stroke. Other than this, weakness and heaviness occur in arm, leg or face. Paralysis occur on the side of the body opposite the cerebral infarct. What do you mean by cerebral infarct? Basically, it is a portion of the tissue that is dying. Then aphasia. What do you mean by aphasia? Aphasia is basically the inability to express through in words may be present. So these are the main symptoms related to stroke. So in the treatment of stroke, anticoagulant and platelet aggregation inhibitors is given, such as aspirin. What do you mean by anticoagulant? Anticoagulant is basically a blood thinner, or it's a chemical substance that prevent or reduce coagulation of blood. What do you mean by platelet aggregation? Basically, it is the clumping together of platelets in the blood. So aspirin is used to prevent the blood from anticoagulation and platelet aggregation. Last, blood pressure management and nursing care is essential. Now, the infectious disorders of the central nervous system. Basically, infection of the central nervous system can be caused by any infectious agent like virus, bacteria, fungi, protozoa, and platyhelminthes. So, there are many infectious disorders of the CNS. Here we will discuss meningitis. As the word indicate, meningitis is the inflammation of the meninges, and as we discussed in the previous lecture, is meninges is a layer that are present around the brain and the spinal cord. So if the inflammation in the meninges, that will cause meningitis. So the main causes of the meningitis is bacteria. So basically meningitis is a bacterial infection. So in that case, bacteria infect the fluid surrounding the brain and spinal cord and usually causes the swelling. However, sometimes injuries, cancer and certain drugs can also causes a meningitis. So here the question is, how do people get meningitis? Basically, when bacteria get into our bloodstream from our sinuses, ears or throat, the bacteria travel through the bloodstream to the brain. Then the bacteria causes meningitis can spread when people who are infected cough or sneeze. So the symptoms usually include stiffness in the neck, headache and fever, and in severe cases it may also cause paralysis, coma or even death. So for viral meningitis there is no specific treatment and the condition is usually benign and self-limiting. Or acute bacterial meningitis must be treated immediately with antibiotics. So early diagnosis and treatment will prevent brain damage and death. Now the structural disorders of the central nervous system, basically several disorders disturb the structure of the brain. That's why they are referred as structural disorders of the central nervous system, such as tumor. Tumor is basically the abnormal mass of neurological cells produced as a result of uncontrolled cell division, or you may call it cancer. So many different types of brain tumors exist. Some brain tumors are non-cancerous or you may call it benign, and some brain tumors are cancerous or malignant. So the main cause of the tumor is mutation. What is a mutation? Mutation is the changing of the structure of gene which may occur at any age in brain and spinal cord. Symptoms include headache, paralysis, seizures, coma, death and neuralgia. What do you mean by neuralgia? Neuralgia is the pain along the distribution of a peripheral nerves. Surgery is the usual treatment for most brain tumor. Other than surgery, radiotherapy and chemotherapy can be used to stop the tumor. Functional disorders of the CNS. Functional neurological disorder is a medical condition in which there is a problem with the functioning of the nervous system. Here we will discuss most common example, that is headache. Headache is defined as a pain arising from the head or upper neck of the body. The pain originates from the tissues and the structure that surround the skull or the brain, because the brain itself has no nerves that give rise to the sensation of pain. So there are two major categories of headache. Number one, primary headache, due to the headache condition itself and not due to another condition. And the second one is secondary headache, which is due to an underlying structural problem in the headache or neck, such as bleeding in the brain, tumor, meningitis, encephalitis. Encephalitis mean inflammation of the brain, sinusitis, and over a use of certain medicines. such as epidural injection for painless delivery, which is given during labor pain. So several analgesic drugs, or you can say a painkiller, are available for the treatment of any kind of headache. Now the degenerative disorders of the central nervous system, basically it is a disorder of the central nervous system characterized by gradual and progressive loss of neural tissues and neurological function. So genetic factors are known to be involved in the degenerative disorders of the CNS. Example of such disease is Alzheimer disease. Basically, Alzheimer disease is a progressive disorder that causes brain cell to waste away, or you can say degenerate and even die. So Alzheimer disease is the most common cause of dementia. What do we mean by dementia? Dementia is a continuous decline in thinking, behavioral and social skills that disrupt a person's ability to function independently. So students, basically the main cause of the Alzheimer disease is genetical disorders, or you can say Alzheimer is a genetical disease. Other than this, Alzheimer disease is thought to be caused by an abnormal buildup of protein in and around brain cells. Basically, the protein deposit to form plaque around the brain cells and cause Alzheimer. The main symptoms of Alzheimer disease is short-term memory or loss of memory, and there is no effective treatment for this disease. But there are drug and non-drug options that may help treat symptoms of Alzheimer disease. Now the diagnostic test for nervous disorders. These days, number of diagnostic tests have been developed for nervous disorders. So here we will discuss principle of EEG, CT scan and MRI. Electroencephalography or EEG. An electroencephalogram is a test that detects electrical activity in your brain using small metal discs, or you can say electrodes, attached to your scalp. So your brain cells communicate by electrical impulses and are active all the time even when you are asleep. So this activity show up wavelengths on an EEG recording. So an EEG pattern is commonly called brain waves. Now the computed tomography scan or CT scan, it is a medical imaging procedure that uses computer processed combinations of many X-ray measurements taken from different angles to produce a cross-sectional images of the specific area of the scan object, allowing the user to see inside the object without cutting. So a CT scan is used to define normal and abnormal structure in the body, or assist in procedure by helping to accurately guide the placement of instruments or treatments. Magnetic resonance imaging or MRI, it is a medical imaging technique used in radiology to form a picture of the anatomy and the physiological process of the body. So MRI scanners use strong magnetic field gradients and radio waves to generate images of the organs in the body. So students, as you can see in the diagram, the MRI scanner is a tube surrounded by a giant circular magnet. The patient is placed on a movable bed that is inserted into the magnet. The patient is exposed to strong magnetic field and a beam of radio waves. The receiver information is processed by a computer and an image is produced. So the image and the resolution produced by MRI is quite detailed and can detect tiny changes of structures within the body. So students, today we have covered the disorders of nervous system, in which we have discussed the vascular disorders of CNS, then infectious disorders of CNS, then structural disorders of CNS. functional disorders of CNS and degenerative disorders of CNS. And then we have discussed the diagnostic test for nervous disorders, in which we have covered the principle of EEG, CT scan and MRI. In our next lecture, we will discuss the nature of behavior, relationship between stimuli and behavior, relationship between heredity and behavior, and biological rhythm. This is all for today. Thank you and Allah Hafiz.